and then I was like drinking a lot and going out a lot. Decision making should just not be for some people. It shouldn't be for me. Like, I should just hand it over to somebody else to make all my decisions, because I am the worst decision maker. We came back into each other's lives stupidly and we got back together, and it was like the world saying, stop hiding from them, stop getting into new relationships, stop trying to mask them, and deal with your problems. Hey guys, and welcome back to Mind with Mills. How is everyone doing? How is your week going? I know you can't answer me, but just pretend like you can. I've been back at work for the past couple of weeks. It's not even full time, it's just for like a couple of days a week. And oh my god, I'm so tired. Okay, like, don't kill me if like you've been working full time throughout this whole pandemic, like you must hate me right now. But to go from like absolutely nothing, even just to like a couple of days a week, I'm wiped out. Honestly, I'm exhausted. I was so tired that I went and got a COVID test. I know I'm such a drama queen, but like I was so scared. Like, I swear that's one of the symptoms. So I got a COVID test today. I'm definitely just being dramatic, but you know, better to be safe than sorry. As you've probably guessed by the title, we are doing the part 2 to my mental health experiences video. I did a part 1, which was sort of my earlier experiences with mental health, and then I'm going to do part 2 today, which is like kind of later in my life. If you haven't seen the part 1 video, jump on over and watch that. I'll leave a little link in the description so you can go and give it a watch. But we've got a fair bit to crack on with today, so let's get into it. So I'm editing this video and I very much realise that the intro and the rest of the video are filmed from 2 completely different camera angles. I'm fucking useless. I'm so sorry. What are you gonna do? Also, I know how shiny I am, not just now, but in the video as well. It was towards the end of the day and I clearly don't know what powder is, so yeah, enjoy. So I think we kind of left off in the part 1 video with my like first heartbreak, my first breakup, and I talked about that in my previous video. And so we come to sort of the end of that. It takes me like about a year properly to, I think, like get over it, get my life back on track. And then I leave school and I decide to go to university. So I decided to go to Goldsmiths in London, which wasn't like my first choice uni, it was my second choice. I've always wanted to live in London, and I was moving to London with like my best friend at the time. Her name's B, if you're watching this, hey girl. So we moved into a flat in London, in Dulwich, we called it Dulwich, good times, together. When I moved to London, it was such like a weird time in my life, because it was the best time of my life, but it was also super hard on me mentally. I was young for my age. Like, I think maybe because of the mental health thing, and maybe because I was just like super naive to the world and everything else. So I was a young 18, and I just don't think that I was quite ready to live on my own, live away from my parents. It was a tough time for me mentally, like, for sure. I think I was like coping with being away from home and being away from my family, and then I was like drinking a lot and going out a lot. In all honesty, like, I wasn't coping well, like, in my year there. So I ended up dropping out of university like fairly quickly. It just wasn't for me. I spoke about in my last video like how I just hated the pressure. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't even know if I wanted to go to uni. I just did it because like everybody was doing it. I didn't like my course, like I hated my course. It's so hard to describe it because like even though I was having like the best time, I was also having quite a bad time. There was a lot of like ups and downs. It was very much like this. It was like a real roller coaster. Like, I loved London and I didn't want to leave London, but at the same time I couldn't cope with being on my own. So after a year, like, our tenancy came to an end, me and B, and I made a decision to go back and live with my parents for a couple of years. I obviously dropped out of uni. Like I said, I dropped out of Goldsmiths, and I was telling myself it was because, like, I didn't like the course. But I knew uni wasn't for me. I knew I couldn't handle the pressure. But I decided to go to university in Bournemouth, which is like where my parents lived. So my parents were going to be there. I was going to try university again. Guess who comes back into my life? Oh my god, I know, I'm terrible. Like, I honestly, it's so bad. So, like, I'm sort of, how old am I? 19 by this point. And me and that toxic ex that I spoke about earlier had been broken up for like a year or 2 years by now. We came back into each other's lives stupidly, and we got back together. Decision making should just not be for some people. It shouldn't be for me. Like, I should just hand it over to somebody else to make all my decisions, because I am the worst decision maker. But oh well, I've learned from the mistakes, so it's all good. It's all good. He ended up like moving down to Bournemouth. So we dated for like a little bit in London. And we got quite serious quite quickly, because obviously we'd been together before. When I decided to move back to Bournemouth, he made the decision to move to Bournemouth too. And we like lived together in my parents' house, which sounds so weird. Like, doesn't that sound weird? We were only like 19 years old, but whatever, it happened. I went to uni, like Bournemouth uni, like, I say for a long period of time, like for a few months, which was longer than the first stint, trust me. Like 3 months maybe, and I think like I enjoyed it in parts. I don't know, it was the pressure came into it again, and my anxiety was getting bad. There was a point when I first moved to Bournemouth, like just after I dropped out of uni for the second time, that I just remember my moods were so erratic. Like, I remember they were like up and down. Like, I was literally like giggling and laughing, and then the next minute I would be crying for absolutely no reason. And I just sort of like noticed it. I think I'd been hiding it for so long. I think I'd been ignoring my mental health issues for so long, and like trying to cover them up, almost being embarrassed of them. I think I did know sort of how bad they were, but I just didn't act on it. But like I said, my moods were getting so erratic, and my parents were noticing it. So I went to the doctors and I had a discussion with the doctor. I feel almost scared to talk about this on here, because I think it's such a serious thing to talk about. I'm not a doctor, I am not a trained professional. I've said this so many times on my channel, but like, just so you know, I'm not. And like, it is your decision or your doctor's decision at the end of the day if you are going to take medication. But me and my GP sort of talked about it at length, and I was really hesitant to take it. I really didn't want to go on medication. I didn't want to get addicted to it. I didn't want to have to rely on medication. But we decided that for like a temporary basis that I should do it. And I did, and it helped me massively. Honestly, I was so up and down, it just sort of like stabilized it. So I'm glad I listened and tried it out. And then like sort of move on slightly later, the boy that I was sort of redating, we broke up. Shock horror. I found out a lot of stuff. I won't get into it because it's bad. Like, the second time round was even worse than the first time. Not how it affected me. How it affected me was definitely worse the first time round. I think I was fine the second time. Like, I almost knew it in my heart of hearts, because I knew he wasn't a good guy and I knew he wasn't a good person. Thought that I was like absolutely fine with it. Like, I didn't have that like upset breakup like when we broke up, and I thought that I would have, but for some reason I just didn't at the time. And he did some bad stuff, like really bad stuff, and for some reason it just like didn't shock me. I think it took a while for like my family to get over it, because obviously he was living with my family, he was close to my family, and the stuff he did like affected my family. Yeah, I think that hurt me because it hurt my family. I think when that one ended, like for good, like we obviously haven't gone back since then, it definitely affected my view of relationships in general. It just had like a really negative effect on my perception of men and relationships in general. I like being in a relationship, that's just me. I like company, I like being with someone. Every relationship I was getting into, I was like repeating the same mistakes, and I was getting very angry at the person that I was in a relationship with. I think because I thought they were going to do to me what, I'm scared to say his name, like I can't say his name on camera, what that guy did to me. I was scared that that was going to happen again, so I would like almost get angry at, you know, my boyfriends. Like I must have been a bit of a bitch to be in a relationship with, because I didn't trust anyone. And I sort of checked myself and I was like, right, before I get into another relationship, I need to sort myself out. I need to work on my mental health. I need to work on my trust issues. I read like a lot of self-help books. I went back to therapy. I just took some time for me. I just need to figure myself out and who I was, and just sort of get these little niggles and these problems that I had sort of squared away, like just deal with them basically. Then my wonderful boyfriend John came along, and at first I kind of knew that I wasn't ready for another relationship, because I was working on myself. I was really like putting a lot of work and effort into myself. That's what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to be in another relationship because I was scared that that was going to have an effect on all the energy and the effort that I put into myself. But John is and will always be so wonderful, and I just kind of couldn't pass it up. Like we just started going on dates and he was so wonderful. But later on, so this was like last year, all these problems that I was having, not in the relationship but with myself, so low self-confidence, my anxiety, issues with pressure. Like I'd started working on these issues, but I hadn't like fully like ticked them off, gotten them sorted before I got into my relationship with John. And then like the happiness and everything of being in a new relationship kind of masked it again, and then it all kind of came to the surface end of last year. It was almost like the issues kept coming like throughout my life, throughout all these things that I've talked to you guys about, and it was like the world saying, stop hiding from them, stop getting into new relationships, stop trying to mask them, deal with your problems. And I had to the hard way, because I had a breakdown end of last year. It was horrific. I felt so low. I was having panic attacks. I had to stop working for a month. I was really poorly, and I was like, right, I've got to do something. I've got to do something about this. I got the number of the best therapist that I've ever had. Oh no, like I've had like loads of good therapists, no, for sure, but like I have a weekly session with that same therapist. I listened to an audiobook, which I will definitely link down below, because it changed my life, like for sure. I had the lowest opinion of myself. Like honestly, I would look at myself in the mirror and like cry at least 3 times a week. Like that's how bad it was. And it was definitely linked to like my depression and my anxiety. And at the beginning of this year, as well as sort of like the end of last year, I was listening to my podcasts. That particular podcast, it gave me so many different things that I could try. Things like affirmations, so like looking at yourself in the mirror and giving yourself like a little positive pep talk every morning. Forgiving myself for certain things. Being kind to myself, changing my negative thought process into a positive one. I have changed so much mentally in the past couple of months. This is why I've actually managed to start this channel. I can't believe I'm like here and talking to you guys about it, because I have had such a journey. Like, you can tell through these like couple of videos, like I've had breakdowns, I've had breakups, I've had panic attacks, I've had roller coasters of emotion, and I am here right now talking to you guys about it, and I am so happy, and I am the best I've been mentally in my entire life. If I can, I've said this so many times on this channel, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, no, I shouldn't say that, blasphemy. If I can help one person through sharing my experiences, through sharing like these little tips and tricks, making someone smile, relieving that pain, and just accepting who you are as a person and loving who you are as a person at the end of the day, then amazing. So guys, that is it for this week. We got a little bit deep today, but you know what? We do need to do it sometimes. Like, I know I've been doing some sort of lifestyle-y bits on here, which is fun, and I love filming it, and I love watching that kind of content. I'm still here to help you guys, and I hope by sharing these experiences that I'm doing just that. Have the best week, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.